the market, where this nice one, Jimmy Jazz.
Mouths water like ice droplets on crystal glass. Eyes tear from steamy vegetables, hot potato and corn mash. When butter beans turn an navy green, melting margarine into a golden glisten. And if you listen, you can hear guts growl, hands trembling.
I'll get you to safety, trust, because you've been saved by
Superfly Tiresias.
Good afternoon and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding a light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and of Black excellence, on Black excellence. And to represent the epitome of Black excellence, we have today a very, very special guest, a very talented young guest. His name is Stevie Walker-Webb. He is an award-winning director, a writer, and a cultural worker who believes in the transformational power of the art. Welcome to My Harlem Portrait, Stevie. May I call you Stevie?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
So you are directing now a play with one of the best plays I've seen in a long time. It's a mesmerizing piece of art. It's called Black Odyssey. It's written by the incredible, amazing Marcus Gardley. It's produced by the Classic Stage Company and is playing now at the Lynn Engelson Theater. Those who haven't seen it, make sure you go and see this because you do not want to miss this work of art. It's fantastic. So thank you for being with us and giving us your time because I know your schedule is very, very busy.
Well, it's great, Maria, to like I said, to be in conversation with you and to give me an opportunity to talk about this play that I love so much. Again, Marcus Gardley, you know, he took this story of Ulysses, of Odysseus, and this journey for this man to find his way back home to his family that is ancient story that's been around for thousands of years. And he's taken the story and brought it to a modern audience. He set it in Harlem. He's made it specific to the Black culture in America in this time. And hopefully when people watch the play, they'll be able to connect to these characters and see that there are certain things that are universally true about the human experience, and universally true about what it means to be a mother or a father or a daughter or a son. He's just done it just powerfully and poetically. It's really something that, you know, I'm proud to have worked on.
Tell us how you approached when you first read the script. How did you approach that? Because the result that we see of your direction is mesmerizing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. You know, when you and I were talking about how I think about directing like my grandmother's lemon butter chicken. Like my grandmother used to make this incredible lemon butter chicken, like the most decadent, delicious, savory thing you've ever had. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. And I would have it as a child, but you know, after she passed, no one in the family quite got the recipe. And so whenever I miss her, I try to recreate that dish, but I could never get it just right. You know, sometimes it's close, but it's never just right. You know? And so when I read Black Odyssey for the first time, it was like biting into that dish. It was so decadent. It was so savory, so full and robust in all of the subject matter. And so it's like in trying to translate what it made me imagine in my mind to the stage for other people to consume it, it's like trying to get the recipe right, and it's like, so I appreciate so much you saying that, it felt powerful and resonant with you, because I think on the page it's such a perfect story. It's so expansive and epic. It's really difficult to take something that is that epic and put it on a little bitty stage, so thank you. I hope that people feel the beating heart of the play when they watch it.
Absolutely. And that little bitty stage felt like a amphitheater.
Wow.
When you put the gods on the Olympus, and then from the Olympus they watch down on Earth, and they watch down on Ulysses, and the way you use that boat that turns into a table, turns into, and then the dancing and the music and the laughing and the crying and the drama and the laughter. I mean, everything is like something is happening all the time. You have to be everywhere because you are afraid of missing something really important. And you did it in an amazing way. So thank you so much for this, because for me, it came at a very special moment when I found out my mom had a stroke. That day, I got a plane, I got a flight to go back to Italy the next day, and I wasn't going to come, but then I said, no, I need to go because I need something, I was so afraid, and sitting down and watching your play just brought the spirit into me. It made me feel my mom is going to be all right. I'm going to be there tomorrow. Everything is going to go fine. And up to now, she's good. So,
wow.
And the audience afterwards, as I said before, we had a talk, a discussion. People were crying.
Wow. Like that, Maria, what you just offered me was just probably the most incredible response to anything I've ever made. Just listening to you say that, you had this unexpected, difficult thing that happened with your mother and in your life, and you found yourself at the theater. You found yourself in this shared collective space and was able to overcome your fear through this collective experience, right? Which is, I always describe theater as the church in the wild.
Yes.
I grew up in the church, and I'm a deeply religious person. But as I've grown older, I found sometimes that the church can limit the way that I get to experience the world, limit the way that I think about not just myself, but just the world in general. And one reason why I love the theater is because it truly is church in the wild. You could come into a theater and be kind of use it as an opportunity to escape from the chaos of the world that's outside. Once those lights blink and they come down and the darkness swallows you up, and you're just looking at this stage, hopefully, you get to do that thing of escaping, but also get to look into a mirror and have life reflected back at you, right? Which is funny because the Black Odyssey, the floor is the mirror, right?
Yes.
So I think it's really beautiful that, you found the spirit and you found heart and you found comfort, in that production. That I'm going to hold that very close to me. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you, because it's true. You tell the viewers why they should go and see it, apart from all the things that we have said now. without discovering something that you don't want to, revealing something about the play, but tell them a little bit about the story.
So you should see it because you're literally going to laugh. It's so silly. It's so it's almost, it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
It's full of jokes. It invites you to kind of laugh both at the play and at yourself and at the world. But at the same time, there are deep, deep philosophical questions and deep spiritual kind of investigations that the play is tackling. This idea of like, what happens when you go on? What happens when we leave this plane as we know it? You know, and there's magic in the play. There's magic all over the play. And so it's at once funny, but also very deep. But in terms of the storyline, it's about a soldier who is from Harlem, and goes to fight in Afghanistan in the war. And while he is away at war, he gets a head injury. And the injury, he develops a kind of a PTSD. And he has to struggle through his PTSD to find his way back home to his family. And that's the question of the play. You know, will he make it home, and at what price and at what cost? I won't tell you all that he has to go through. It's quite a saga. Oh my goodness, he has to go through so much to make it back to the people that he loves. And it's the story of Ulysses and the story of the Odyssey. We all know how that story ends, but what Marcus has done so brilliantly, as he's taken this familiar ancient story and steeped it in Black culture, and specifically set it in Harlem. And so while you might know the end of the play, it's the journey that you go on. It's the journey that you buy that ticket so you can watch how he's braided Black history into the story of the Odyssey. Is really, really, really brilliant.
That is one of the most amazing things about this play is how history and the saga of Ulysses and mythology are woven into the tissue of today's struggle for African Americans still in this country, and how the power of love, the power of the help of the ancestors, in this case in the Olympus, but in modern days, our ancestors, help him to come back to his roots and to find this fierce resilience that they had, and the survival mode that they must have had when they were taken from Africa in galley of boats and taken here through sicknesses and tortures and everything, and find out that you are the descendant of the most powerful, most valuable, most incredible people, because they were mentally, emotionally, and physically able to survive something that most people wouldn't survive.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's why the picture of some people might look at her and see that she's mammy, but I think about her as one of my greatest ancestors. That's why she's enshrined on my wall back there. It's an art piece that I had commissioned. But the idea of putting her on the wall, and she's actually she's humongous. I mean, if you could, the dimensions are humongous, but she's there because I feel like in society, you know, Black women specifically have this image was thought to be something to mock or to make fun of, or, you know, an ethnic trope. But when I look at her, you know, I see that the head wrap on her head as a crown, you know, and I see it as the vanguard of fashion. The thing that she created just to like get through her workday now is a fashion symbol, right? Yes. The lips that she has, the nose that she has is now a reflection of beauty in our society. And so I think that, like, you know, as Black people in America, the things that we've been taught to be ashamed of, or taught that we should somehow police or cover up, are often, you know, vestiges of our ancestors, things that they've given us that we can't run away from. So we have to figure out how to celebrate those things, as opposed to trying to assimilate them, you know, or, you know, look at them through the perspective of, you know, the dominant white culture. But I don't even know, but like, when you were talking about our ancestors and them being strong, it just made me think of, maybe actually think about the image behind me.
Absolutely. I totally understand what you're saying. It's beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about you now, because we have another 10 minutes to go.
Okay.
I want to go back to you and to all the things you've done in your young career, because you're a young guy. You are an award-winning director, and you believe in the power of art to survive and to overcome poverty and violence and so on, and also to help marginalized groups and people in jail. So tell me a little bit about that mission you have with your art.
I think art is like the most effective tool in terms of shifting hearts and minds and exposing people to things that they wouldn't have access to otherwise. And not just exposing, you know, disadvantaged populations to, you know, quote, culture, but it's also really effective in exposing the elite and the powerful to the human experience in ways that they wouldn't have access to. I think that art has the ability to build bridges. You know, I work in, you know, I'm very civically engaged, and I always say that you could legislate and pass laws and pass bills and lobby to change, you know, policies that affect people's lives, but it's storytelling and it's art that changes people's hearts,
Yes.
changes their minds, that creates compassion. And so, you know, over the years, I've really tried to use storytelling, and whether that's theater or TV or film or writing, as a tool to open people's minds so that they can see across their own experience into the experience of another. And I've done that in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. My younger brother was arrested in our front yard. He had a mental health episode, didn't commit any crime other than he was Black and he was having a mental health crisis, and the police arrested him in our front yard. And I ended up going down to Texas. I drove 26 hours in the height of the pandemic to my hometown, Waco, Texas, and I staged a 24-hour demonstration called Hundreds of Thousands, which he was being held in a solitary confinement cell. And so I built a solitary confinement cell along with my community. And I sat in that solitary confinement cell, and it was live streamed through the public and through Playbill, and people donated. And it was an opportunity to shine light on the carceral system and the ways in which we use solitary confinement to address the mental health crisis in America. And that's just like one example of you know, how I've used art and to generate compassion and to generate empathy and understanding. You know, we live in a time where those kinds of words have now been associated with, you know, pacifist ideas or weak ideas. But I couldn't disagree more with those sentiments. I think that compassion and empathy and understanding and reaching to see yourself reflected in people who don't look like you. I think that those ideas and postures are so essential for us to improve the world that we live in. And until we learn to see ourselves reflected in others, we're going to continue to see the world fall apart. It's like high time for us to do the work to understand one another. I just said a whole lot, but yeah.
There is no other way. Otherwise, we are going all to sink.
Period.
There is no other way. We need to understand that we all belong to one race, the human race.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
I talk about races. I said, there are no races in this world. There is one race. That's it. There are ethnicities and different languages and different cultures and different ways of seeing things, but there is one race. And we all have to get along, because otherwise we are going to all go to sink.
It's true. And the systems have been set up where our difference has been weaponized. You know, the hue of our skin, the culture that we grew up in, our religion, all of that's been weaponized, our difference, to make us view each other as enemies. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's just time for us to begin to take that tool away and to really explore how our difference actually can connect us. It's strength, and it can connect us, especially, you know, and that's what I try to do with art. At the end of the day, you know, I feel so blessed. God has been so good to me in the sense of, you know, I work with some of the greatest playwrights, you know, in my time, you know, whether that's Daniel Love or Marcus Gardley or Jordan E. Cooper or Jackie Sibley's-Drury. Like, I've been able to handle some of the very best writers, Black American writers, that I think that 100 years from now, their plays will be pulled out of the vaults as examples of Black excellence, right? But the thing that always calls me to a play is this play trying to create compassion and empathy in the world? Is it trying to challenge us to see ourselves as connected? And if it's doing that, then I always want to be a part of it.
And to do all these things that you were talking about, you are the executive director of Hundreds of Thousands, which is an organization that you used to do what you're doing. And you have received many awards, as I said before, among others, an Obie Award for directing Ain't No More at the Public Theater, which was another amazing play.
Thank you.
And you are also the recipient of the Princess Grace Award for Theater, the Lily Award in honor of Lorraine Hansberry, which was awarded by the Dramatists Guild of America, and you are a 2050 fellow at New York Theater Workshop and the Wellspring Scholar. I mean, okay.
Thank you.
And you are also the founding artistic director of the Jubilee Theater in Waco, Texas, which is where you come from. You have created art and theater all over the world: Madagascar, South Africa, Mexico, Mississippi, and all across America. Your work has been produced by the Public Theater, the American Civil Liberties Union, the New Group, Cherry Lane, Zara Ain, Woolly Mammoth, Baltimore Center Stage, La Mama Theater, and the Theater of the Oppressed, New York City. You have done so much. Of all this work, which ones are the moments that were most important for you in a positive way, and the worst obstacles that you encountered?
Wow. I think the most important thing that I'm working on is always whatever's in front of me. You know, it's whatever I'm working on right now. I'm getting ready to do Life is a Dream by Maria Irene Fornes, a Cuban-American playwright who I think is, you know, one of the foremothers of American absurdism. And right now, because I'm working on that play, that's the most important thing I can work on. But, you know, in terms of my career, I would have to say Ain't No Mo has been like the most important thing I've done, in the sense of it, you know, Jordan E. Cooper is my best friend, and getting to take that play to Broadway and watching him make history as, you know, the youngest Black playwright, you know, in the history of the theater on Broadway, and watching him stand in the shadow and on the shoulders of, you know, Lorraine Hansberry. and then also it's just such it was such an important moment to take something that was just black, just like black in its politic, raucous and unapologetic, and just like so joyful and so radical and transgressive to Broadway was just incredible. I'm still kind of I still stand in the awe of that. But on the other side was also one of the most painful things that I've ever worked on, in the sense of, working so hard on something and it closed prematurely. We didn't even get, a month of shows before the show had to close. But even in that pain, taking that L, that loss, and turning it into a lesson, it became this beautiful moment, where the entire, entertainment industry stood up and said, hey, there's something wrong with the way that Broadway functions. There's something wrong with the way that it's programmed, that productions that are, critically acclaimed, like Ain't No Mo, can't have a life. And so, Jordan started that hashtag Save Ain't No Mo. And, and Lee Daniels was with us, as the producer, always believing in this play, believing that it had real commercial appeal. And then Lena Waithe joined the fight to keep the play alive, and Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, and Will Smith and Jada, so many RuPaul. I mean, I could just, if I start going down that, it's so many people came to join that cause and to join that fight. And some names are slipping my mind right now. But I just and not just celebrities and people who have wealth and power, but the community, the theater community, people who didn't even live in New York purchased tickets so that people who couldn't afford tickets, who lived in New York, could go see the show. I mean, I remember standing in the back of the theater, standing in the back of the theater at the end, it was like maybe like 2 performances left, and there was standing room only, and people were screaming and clapping and talking back to the stage so vibrantly that Jordan had to like stop and hold for applause and stop and repeat lines, because people were so engaged in what was happening. I don't think anything like that has ever happened on Broadway. Prayerfully it will happen again soon. But I mean, it was magical. It was magical. I'm still learning from that experience, if I'm honest.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing this, because this was obviously a very, very important and amazing moment. And we are at the end.
Here we go. We did it.
Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. This is not the last time you. I'm gonna see you and talk to you with this play on Broadway, because this play has to be Broadway bound.
Black Odyssey it's so deserving. It's so worthy of a larger audience and a longer life. It really is. It's visually the most beautiful thing I've ever made. It's so stunning, visually stunning.
Definitely can understand what you say, because it's mesmerizing. So thank you again for this conversation. Thank you to our viewers. See you next time, 12:30, My Harlem Portraits. Bye-bye.
Thank you.